Welcome to ABC English Story. Today, we have a tense story about family secrets and what happens when someone is pushed too far. It's called Mother-in-Law Spiked My Drink at Family Dinner. I Swapped Glasses with Her Husband. And then, this story explores some difficult emotions and choices. Let's listen. The Sunday dinners at Eleanor's house always felt like walking on a tightrope. Eleanor, my mother-in-law, had a way of smiling that didn't quite reach her eyes. Her compliments often had a hidden sting, and her questions felt more like interrogations. My husband, Mark, never seemed to notice. Or maybe he chose not to. For him, these dinners were just a normal part of life. For me, they were a performance. This particular Sunday was heavier than usual. I had a secret, a small, hopeful thing curled up inside me. I was pregnant. Only 3 weeks, too early to tell anyone. But it changed how I saw everything. Suddenly, Eleanor's critical gaze felt sharper, her carefully chosen words more pointed. She'd always made it clear she thought Mark could have done better than me, a quiet librarian from a modest family. A baby, our baby, felt like a shield, but also a target. We were all seated around the heavy oak table in Eleanor's perfectly arranged dining room. The air smelled of roast chicken and something else, something like old secrets. Eleanor was particularly attentive to me that evening. "Sarah, dear, you look a little pale," she said, her voice like smooth, cold silk. "You must have some more wine. It will bring the color back to your cheeks." She poured a generous amount into my glass, more than usual. Her hand lingered near my glass for a moment too long. My eyes narrowed slightly. I watched her as she moved back to her seat. There was a small, almost invisible smile on her lips. A cold dread started to spread through me. Why was she so insistent? Why the extra attention? My mind raced. The pregnancy. Did she somehow know? Or suspect? The thought was a flash of ice. What if she wanted to harm it? Harm me? It seemed too monstrous, too unreal. But the look in her eyes, that fleeting, knowing smile, my heart hammered against my ribs. I needed to think. I couldn't drink it. But I couldn't refuse either. That would cause a scene. Questions I wasn't ready to answer. My gaze darted around the table. Mark was talking to his sister. Eleanor was watching me. And next to her, David, her husband, Mark's father, was quietly eating his soup. His wine glass, identical to mine, was half full. It was a crazy idea, born of panic, and a desperate need to protect myself, my baby. My hand trembled under the table. "Oh, Eleanor," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. "This chicken looks absolutely wonderful. Could you tell me your secret for keeping it so moist?" It was a classic diversion. As she turned to Mark's sister, who was closer, to share some culinary tip, her attention shifted completely. In that split second, with my heart pounding so loud I was sure everyone could hear it, I did it. My hand shot out, quick and precise. I picked up my wine glass and swapped it with David's. It was done in a breath. No one noticed. My own glass, now in front of him, seemed to mock me with its fuller measure. I picked up David's former glass, now mine, and took a tiny, hesitant sip. It tasted like normal wine. Relief, sharp and immediate, washed over me, but it was quickly followed by a new kind of fear. What had I just done? The rest of the meal passed in a blur for me. I picked at my food, my senses on high alert. About 20 minutes later, David started to get louder. He was usually a quiet, reserved man, but tonight he was laughing boisterously at everything, his face flushed. Then he started talking, really talking. "Eleanor, you remember that Henderson deal, don't you?" he said, his words a little slurred. "The one you said was too risky for Mark to handle? Ha! I know you just wanted to keep him under your thumb. Always got to be in control, don't you, Ellie?" Eleanor's face went white. "David, "You've had too much wine," she hissed, her smile finally gone, replaced by a tight, angry line. No, I haven't had enough," David declared. Then he looked at Mark. "Son, your mother? She's a clever woman. Very clever. Moved a lot of your grandfather's assets into accounts she controlled just before he passed. Said it was for safekeeping. Never quite saw it safely return to the main family trust, though." The dining room was silent except for David's rambling. Mark looked stunned, staring at his father, then at his mother. Eleanor looked like she wanted the ground to swallow her up. I just sat there, watching the carefully constructed facade of their family begin to crack. I felt a strange mix of vindication and sickness. This wasn't what I'd intended, not exactly. I just wanted to protect myself. Eleanor tried to get David to go upstairs, but he shrugged her off. He didn't become aggressive, just loose. His inhibitions were gone. He talked about Eleanor's disapproval of me, her comments about my family, her plans to guide Mark's career, which sounded more like total control. Each revelation was like a small explosion at the dinner table. The dinner ended abruptly. Mark was quiet and visibly shaken on the drive home. He didn't ask me what happened, not right away. I think he was too busy processing what his father had said. The days that followed were strained. David was terribly embarrassed and had a vague memory of being unwell, but Eleanor knew. Oh, she knew. I saw it in the way she looked at me across a room during a brief, awkward visit to check on David. It was a look of pure, cold fury, but also, for the first time, a hint of fear. Mark finally asked me, "Sarah, Dad was... he was not himself. And Mom said you barely touched your wine. Did something happen?" This was my moment. The truth, or a version of it. "She tried to give me far too much wine, Mark," I said, my voice low. "I was worried about why. So I swapped our glasses when she wasn't looking. I never imagined he'd say those things. I couldn't bring myself to tell him about the baby yet, or my deepest fear about Eleanor's intentions. It was too much. But he saw the fear in my eyes. The seeds of doubt about his mother, planted by David's drug-fueled honesty, began to grow in Mark. He started asking quiet questions, looking into old financial statements his father had mentioned. He found irregularities, things that made him deeply uncomfortable. He saw his mother's manipulations in a new, harsh light. Our marriage teetered. Mark was caught between his loyalty to his mother and the dawning, horrifying realization of her true nature. He pulled away from me for a while, lost in his own turmoil. I felt incredibly alone. I had protected my baby, yes. I had exposed Eleanor in a way. But the cost was heavy. The warmth we'd shared felt chilled. The revenge, if you could call it that, wasn't sweet. It was bitter and complicated. Eleanor's power within the family was damaged, perhaps permanently. David, ironically, started to assert himself more, as if the incident had shaken him awake. Mark eventually confronted his mother. It was a quiet, devastating conversation that left their relationship fractured. He came back to me then. "I see it now, Sarah," he said, his voice heavy with a new, sad wisdom. "All of it." He apologized for his blindness, for not protecting me sooner. "We are trying to rebuild." I finally told him about the pregnancy, weeks after that terrible dinner. The news brought a fragile joy, but also a shadow. The family Mark had known was gone, replaced by a more complicated, painful truth. My act of swapping those glasses had set off a chain reaction, revealing a rotten core we couldn't ignore. There's no simple victory. Eleanor is still his mother. The family is broken, perhaps healing in a new, more honest way. But the scars are deep. Sometimes, late at night, I lie awake and wonder if I did the right thing. I protected my child. I exposed a manipulator. But I also unleashed a storm. The reflection in the mirror shows a woman who is stronger, yes, but also harder and a little more haunted. Justice, I'm learning, is rarely clean, and its price is often paid in pieces of yourself you didn't know you could lose. That was a difficult story. What do you think about Sarah's actions? Was her revenge justified, or did it create more problems? What will happen next for her and the family? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for listening to ABC English Story. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories to help you learn English.